disagree about how it's going to be okay. We all disagree about, which way we want to go. But if you talk to a lot of the people that get into these systems, that break in, they get frustrated because I'll tell you, and it's happened to me, it's no fun breaking into a system and looking up your own cardholder data. It's a real bummer, right?
It's really fun when it's your boss's cardholder data.
Yeah, that's true. That's true in Netflix and other types of video rentals. So it's really hard to look at your own data. And when you break in and you're able to look that up, then it makes you realize just how important it is that we really secure it, right? So So moving on, the problem is in this business is that we're mostly dealing with apathy, not stupidity, right? We're mostly dealing with people who don't care. We beat them over the head, and we really want to keep them down. And to a certain degree, the problem is that we don't really want to keep them down, but they see so much of this stuff, right? They see so many O-days, they see so many of these attacks that they lose sight of it. They lose sight of the ability to actually control their own networks, right? They have to see what they're doing right. They have to see what they're doing right. And that's something that we're not very good at. A lot of times when we're dealing with these no-finding tests, we're saying, I didn't find anything. I tried and tried and tried and tried, and I didn't get in. And basically the result is nothing, right? And what we're missing is an opportunity to actually show them what they're doing right. Somehow we have to increase the security. Somehow we have to increase the security in our client's network. Somehow we have to increase the security ourselves, right? Somehow we have to take a step back and say, this is how we're going to do better. So it kind of brings up this big sort of metaphysical question, if you will, of what is security? What is it? What are we chasing? Why do we have all these conferences? What are we going after? Right?
I vote kitten, tinfoil hat.
So, if you want to advance. So, I'll take it. Sure. So basically, this is, rather than saying it, right, we've spent a lot of time talking about it. I like pictures. I like big pictures, and this is what I think. This is how I see it. This is right now, right? So you got a pen tester coming in saying, show mount -E. I like the clip art, 1987 Mac Plus, and there's some guys on the other side there that represent the client. And what happens is, okay, let's do an NFS export. Let's take a look at what shares are available. The thing freaks out. I see all this stuff, and it's like, hey guys, you guys really suck. And they say, oh shit, here comes the auditor. I hate that guy. Can't stand him. He always finds something that we missed. Here's the thing, right? This whole thing, this whole problem of getting people on our side comes down to this shift. I don't know if you saw it. I'll do it again. So they're over there, and then they're all over on our side, right? That's the whole thing. They're standing behind us. We have this flashlight. We're showing all this stuff. And we're saying, hey, take a look at this. This is real problematic. I can cause all sorts of issues with this system. Of course, I don't expect them to say my hero, right? This is probably going a little too far. But at the same time, this is what I want. I want to say, hey, check this out. This is really cool. Or, oh, this kind of stinks. You really need to fix this, right? We got to get them on our side. We got to remind them that this is what they paid for, right?
For the record, Steve wants a lot of things. So we need to come to terms with this. One, we can't do it all in a single test. There's no, like I said earlier, there's no single bullet. The silver bullet theory just doesn't work. It's going to be a blend of a lot of things, a lot of technologies, a lot of testing, a lot of, man hours. And anyone that tells you that they have a product, a service, or anything that is going to leave you secure is lying. Either that or horribly mistaken. Either way, you don't want them in charge of your security. We need to see value in what we do. And we need the people that we work for to see value in what we do. There needs to be a value proposition. We cannot be the Union Pacific railroad engineers who are hurtling towards a brick wall and we're cheaper to clean up off the side of the road or the railroad tracks. Confrontational relationships, they're adverse to revenue. So you're either part of the problem or part of the solution, and we need to start being a lot more clear about the fact that we're part of the solution, and that means that we need to be working with people. And we need to work on making it clear just how much we're doing too. Making it clear that not only is it a value proposition, but it's a really good value proposition, and you should be really excited about me being here. And yes, you know, we're finding problems, but we're fixing problems. Focus on the fixing problems, not so much on the finding problems. You know, one of the things I've told people in the past about their penetration test reports, if you have 3 pages on a vulnerability about the problem and then nothing about the solution, it's really sort of depressing report. Talk about the solution. The solution is just as important, if not more important, than the problem. The problem is depressing. The solution's nice.
So there's a way that I've been doing pen tests for a while. Some people might benefit from this, but it's really basically the idea is that you're wanting to show value, right? Pictures and notes.
I'm drinking your beer, by the way.
Pictures and notes obviously give you a narrative, right? When you cover the test at the end, when you have the reveal, you want to be able to talk to it. You want to tell a story. This is what's really kind of weird about this thing is that when you're doing consulting, when you're doing penetration testing, you're breaking into networks, whatever it is, you start talking to people, you know, at dinner parties and things about what you do, and they ask you, what is it? Well, I do penetration testing. And once they get past the whole joke about penetration testing, right? Once they get past that, then they start asking, well, what is it, right? Well, it's breaking into networks for money, breaking into networks for a living to show people if they're vulnerable or not. And the thing is, they get excited about that. They actually think that that's kind of cool. So I guess I'm here to say that really we're already kind of the cool guys, right? If you're doing that, or you're doing security consulting, you're messing with this kind of stuff, it's already captured the imagination. There's a show on MTV, I think it's MTV India, that somebody's telling me about the show, and apparently it's all about hacking. It's all about hacking into networks. Even MTV's picking this stuff up, right? So we're kind of already there. If you really think about it, the stuff that we do is, you know, it's kind of cool. So going at it from that angle, you know, show what worked and what didn't. That's a big one. What didn't work? What didn't work? Hey, I looked at your network. I thought about it. I thought about what I might do as an attacker. I had this much data. I looked at it and I said, well, if I was trying to get in here, I would do this thing. And guess what? I got thwarted because you're using encryption over here. Not too many pen tests you're going to find that out. But here's the thing, right? That's the only way to fight apathy. Because what you're doing is you're telling the client, you know, the stuff you're spending time doing, the stuff you're buying and putting in place and learning and spending time sending people to conferences, what have you, all that stuff actually is paying off. All that stuff really does kind of work. You thwarted me. I got to step D, and suddenly I couldn't get in. So it's the concept of this is good, this is good, this is good, this ain't so good, right? When you find something, line it up. Set a few things in front. A good analogy here is if you don't like the hug thing, right? If you're uncomfortable with that, think about coaching. Let's look at the most masculine type of profession you can be in. What do coaches do? They come in, they say, "Oh, you stink. You're horrible. You're kicking the ball wrong. You're doing it. You know, you're doing just a terrible job." No, they know from years of experience that that's going to cut people down. It's going to affect them on the field. They're going to second guess themselves. What they do is they say, "You know what? You're running good. You're working out good. You look good. The other stuff that you're doing, you're in good shape. But I want you to work on this specific thing." And then they pat them on the ass. I mean, think about that. They get away with it, right? They get away with hitting people in the butt. I couldn't do that. I'd end up in HR, right? But these guys, they're macho, and they can get away with it. So that's what I say. Let's take a page out of their book, right? Let's say this is good, this is good, this is good, this ain't so good. And then, of course, giving them basic guidance on how it's been fixed, right? And the big thing as consultants, this is where prof services comes in. This isn't some kind of generic, well, your network's kind of insecure, so you should put more IDS in there and buzzwords. What we're trying to say is, this is the problem, the exact problem, and here's an exact solution. We have the ability to do that in this space. So what I've done, I alluded to this earlier, what I do that really helps me with my pen tests is I use something called a mind map. Just an idea, whatever works best for you, Post-it notes, paper, whatever it is. But personally, there's something that's kind of cool. It's called a mind map, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to set up kind of a base, and then you hit tab, and you can put ideas in there, and then you can hit tab on any one of those nodes, and you can keep increasing the size of this thing. And what it does for me is it shows me where I've been, what I've done, what I was thinking at the time, and it shows me how all the different ideas are related. This is really, really useful if you're doing multiple tests. If you have like 4 or 5 irons in the fire and you want to context switch between these things, think of this as something that just gives you immediate context into what you're working on. So there's a screenshot here. This is a sanitized test that we did, or a basic example here of a test where we were actually able to get access through the Sun Lights Out Manager. Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, Sun Lights Out Manager is a module that runs on a lot of Sun hardware that's alive even when the box is powered down. So you can get into this thing. It's almost like having a console directly attached to it, but you can do it over things like Telnet and other insecure protocols, right? So this is just a kind of this is called FreeMind. If anybody wants to download that, that's free. That's a Java application you can download. I believe it's Mac, Windows, Linux, no problem. And this is sort of a zoom in on a test that I did where, as you can see, we start off with the PCI network. We work our way over, and then there's these different systems that I found inside the PCI network. And so, as you can see, I have these different phases. This is all my own thinking, right? So kickoff done. That means something to me personally. And I say all that ports are filtered, all those ports are filtered. Then I do a kickoff. I do an Oracle scan. I get some stuff, but I'd have to there's a little light bulb. I use light bulbs to give myself ideas for the future. You need to guess service ID. But then you move on. A lot of times pen testing is looking for path of least resistance. You're looking for things that are going to turn around real quick. So I said, well, maybe if I'm really hard up, I'm going to come back to that. But I'll keep going on. And so I got HTTPS. Oh, that's interesting. That's Sun Lights Out Manager. That's really kind of cool. So I'm going to look up Sun Lights Out Manager online. Type in, look at the default credentials. Well, it turns out that root change me actually did work on this machine. But I was kind of stymied because the Sun Lights Out Manager stuff that's usually associated with it, the remote control piece, wasn't up on this machine. So then I had this idea. Well, here's the thing, right? Just thinking like a person. And this is where pen testers, this is where security consultants will always beat out scripts, right? Anything that's going to run on the network in an automated fashion, we're always going to beat it out because we can think like a person. We can think, if they've got that in there, if I found one, there's probably other ones. And if there are other ones, there's probably one that's configured to give me remote access. So I keep going through, and then I find out down here, there's this little bomb. When I put a little bomb, that means I got in. Down here, this other IP, HTTPS, Sunlom, root changed me, and I was able to reboot it using Control-Alt-Delete because basically I'm sitting at the console and there's a thing that says send Control-Alt-Delete in the application, and then I could go single user mode using Grub. So you could actually own the system through this. But again, you see the process. And without this, what do I say? I say, I got access to this machine through Sunlom. And they think it's some kind of magical thing. How did you know to do that? And it's really, really hard without something like this to back up and actually explain what I was thinking at the time. The upside to a mind map is if you're able to do this, you're able to say exactly how you got there, and you're able to tell a pretty compelling story. So basically, it's demonstrating the extent visually of the application.
So, I think if I can leave you with one thing through this entire talk, it is just to involve the client. If you're a tester, and if you're a consumer, be involved. Be part of it. It's a lot easier to say we have a problem than it is to say you have a problem. Well, actually, I take that back. It's a lot easier to say you have a problem and you're on your own. But you can't do that. Because when it becomes, again, us versus you, security versus everything else, security is going to lose. If security is part of the solution, it becomes a lot more tolerable. And actually, Steve told me that I had to actually include this in the presentation. And